Welcome to Do the Talk podcast. This is a real estate podcast that teaches regular people how to invest in real estate. Uh, I am your host today. My name is Hamed Lawal, and my co-host here is Ibrahim Ojerinde. We are committed to making investments in real estate seamless as possible. Um, and if you are looking to invest in real estate in any capacity, be it fixing and flipping, buy and hold, buying your first uh, property, even the one you want to live in, you are at the right place. That is what we talk about here. That is what we teach here. We teach you how to avoid common mistakes. Ibrahim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Our audience, we really appreciate you guys for coming every Friday and joining us here. So please keep on sharing. Tell your coworker, your friends, your family about Do the Talk. We are committed to make sure real estate investment is seamless as much as possible. We are sharing real life experience, what we know, what we have learned in real estate. So thank you for always being there for us. We've always been saying this. It's not a get rich quick scheme. Today we'll be looking at how you can turn a bad investment into a good one. Of course, we know there's always a good and bad investment out there. So today we want to focus on how you can, in the actual sense, how you can first of all prevent it. But if you run into it, you can still turn some bad investment into a good one. So today, that's what we'll be focusing on. Ahmed is gonna get us started, and Ahmed, what can people do? How can you turn bad investment into a good one? And of course, how can you even prevent bad investment?
Yeah, so let me answer the answer to the last question. How can you prevent uh, running into bad investment? Is really stay within the rules, stay within the regulations. So there are a lot of golden rules in real estate. Some are very particular that it can only be applied to certain investment. Some are general, right? So if you stay within the rules, you don't break any rules, there is a high chance that all your investment are going to be profitable. I'm going to give you an example. Okay, you implement. That is what you do, right? If you go outside of that range, you need to re-educate yourself. People always believe, once I know how to buy a house, that is it. No, once you are moving into a different arena, that means you need to re-educate yourself about that arena because we have diverse strategy in real estate. So if I'm buying a property, there are things that I look for, which we already discussed on this podcast if you are following us, which is our buy box, right? If Ibrahim is buying, if you guys are buying, there is a particular you need to have that. And if an investment doesn't fit into that, let it go. Because if you jump into it, there's you now increase your chance of not being unsuccessful. So for me, I think the simple answer to how can people prevent it is just to stay within regulation, stay within what you can you are an expert on, stay within what you have experience on. Um, but let's say, it happens, right? We are all human and we can make mistakes. Let's say you already run into a situation where the investment you are hoping to be bringing you money is now turning into a money pit somehow. Well, there are things you can do. So it's not the end of the world. As an investor, you need to see it as a challenge, not a problem or something that is not doesn't have a solution. No, everything have a solution. So for me, is to go back to the golden rules. You know, go back to how do I even buy this? Do I buy this investment right? So there is this golden rule in real estate that said you make money when you buy. So when you are buying investments, that is where you have the highest leverage because you can negotiate your way. And if it doesn't fit, like we always advise on Do the Talk, just walk away. If it doesn't fit, which is what I already said, if you don't break that rule, there's a higher chance your all your investment is going to be successful. But once you break it, that is when you will be at the position that we're going to be talking about today. So go back to the drawing table and see where the problem is for. Let's take for instance, let's say you buy a asset that you think it's going to be cash flowing and it doesn't cash flow. Maybe it's something with the rates that you get at the time. Maybe it's something with the rates, the tenants, the rent that you think you're going to get. Well, things happen, right? You cannot throw the baby away with the water. So there are things you need to do. Number one is to go back to the drawing board and do a market research on that property. What are you charging? What are other people charging? What are other people charging more? What are you charging? What are other people chance of charging more too? Charging more in the sense that what are the things that those people that are charging more than you are providing that you don't have. If you can figure that out, then you can implement whatever they have. So let's take for instance the person next door or your neighbor that is charging. Let's say you are charging 1,002 for a two-bedroom, two bathroom apartment, and this guy down the street is charging 1,004. But you discover that this guy down the street does have a washer and dryer. You don't have. Like we talked a few weeks back, people will pay for conveniency. You will be surprised how many people will pay you a few $100 more just to have that conveniency within the reach so that they don't have to go outside their house to have it. So that is $200 cash flow right there for you that you can tap into with one-time investment. I mean, it's not as if the washer and dryer is going to be getting spoiled every time. So let's say you even do washer and dryer for 1 year, extra $200 for 1 year. That is 1,004, which can be a profit for you. Then you can write every other expenses off in taxes and all that. So this is one thing that you can do. And but yeah, I don't advise as a property manager if you are not providing equal value to what you want to be charging your tenants, it is wrong to just because you feel like it is wrong to just increase the rent on them. You need to be substituting something for what you want to get from them. So you need to make sure you are giving them the house that actually worth what. So let's say the rent in that area is 800, and you just decide because your house is not cash flowing, you want to be charging 1,002. It doesn't work that way. What you are going to run into is vacancy. Nobody's going to rent your house. Even the ones that are there are going to move out because they see an alternative down the street that is even better than your house, and now they are charging less than you. So you can't just force things on people because what that will do is it's going to kill your investment totally. Now you are struggling, but at this point it's going to kill it totally. My screen is a little squeeze. Ibrahim, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just have a little glitch here, so the screen is
Okay,
kind of frozen.
go back. Come back in. So you can see me now, right?
Now I can see you, but I can hear you though.
Okay. Will you mind just continue? I'll be right back. Let me
That's
fix
fine.
this real quick.
So, sorry, we have a little glitch there, but I can continue here. So, essentially, what Ahmed is saying is that when you invest in the wrong property, wrong investment, you can still turn it around. Um, First thing I will tell you is to first of all try to assess what is causing the problem. By doing some research, by finding out where and how you have missed the step. Um, Ahmed said, "Do not miss the step," because he's saying if you miss the step, it might cost you a lot. At the same time, personally, I would recommend anyone should be flexible when you're doing your business. Um, because when you follow all the rules, you miss some of the fun. What I mean by that, flexibility can actually um, create that fortune. For example, if you sometimes you when you follow all the numbers and follow the rules, and your gut is telling you that this property maybe it's not exactly on that number. For example, the 1% rule, it's not exactly on 1%. However, your gut is telling you that this property is looking nice, the condition is good enough for you to get started and and excel. um, you might have to follow that gut at that moment, even though the number is not exactly that 1%, or because for your gut repeatedly telling you that this property may be good or this investment may be good, it might be in the next 1 or 2 years there might be a big corporation, a big project, a big something coming to that city, and there's nothing bigger than your internal feeling about something. I'm not saying you should go dead out and just do any kind of investment, but what I'm saying is that as you're looking at the number internally, try to see beyond just the peripheral, looking, just like anyone else. Try to see how any kind of investment that you're doing, see how it's looking, and um, make sure that you find out the problem. So if the problem is a bad tenant in the sense that your investment is great, it's good, but they stop paying rent, or they stop taking care of your property, or they start damaging your property, even though your numbers are correct, even though your house is in a good location. But the fact that a bad tenant is giving you a headache or is damaging or destroying your property, some people look at that as a bad investment. So how can you fix that? Okay, since you know it's the tenant, the numbers are right, the location is good, equity is coming in, you should get a cash flow, but you're not getting it because the tenant stopped paying the rent. And maybe unfortunately it's in the middle of the year, like the middle of the lease, where you cannot just easily chase the tenant out, or you have no knowledge on how to take care of this kind of issue. All you have to do is to seek people, or go and approach an individual or a party or a company that knows how to take care of such issue. Because here it's not about buying. You bought it right. The house is in a good location. The problem is your tenant is the headache. Personally, I would recommend, if you don't know how to deal with that, is to go and look for a good property management company. That way they can tell you how to deal with bad tenant, how to avoid them from start. Okay, in the beginning, how to even prevent them from coming into your property, because in this case is the tenant. Now I mean, Ahmed may have some other things to say about the tenant and all that, because it's a reliable property manager. So I'll let Ahmed continue. So let's enjoy Ahmed.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Brian, for filling in on that hand. I mean, it's on the note of the tenants, you cannot control everything. You cannot control what other people do. But what you can control is how you respond. So it's a good advice that you find someone that have the experience on how to, replace such tenants and make it a profitable one. Going back to what I was discussing. So when I joined back, noticed Ibrahim already mentioned one of the things I want to say, which is 1% rule. So 1% rule is if you buy a house for 100,000, 1% of 100,000 is 1,000. You must be able to rent that house for 1,000 for that house to qualify for a 1% rule. And what they used to use 1% rule for back then is basically to make sure that the house is going to cash flow. So the idea is if you buy a house of 100,000 and you are able to rent it for 1,000, that the house will cash flow. A lot of time it works, but at this time and age, you need to be able to look beyond 1% a lot of time, just like Ibrahim mentioned, because if the local governments are doing a lot of incentive for bigger companies to come in, right? And you miss that investment at that point because it's not cash flowing, guess what? Down the line, you're going to regret because the rent is going to skyrocket. Now, other people that have invested in that area and endure the time the house is not cash flowing will now be making big bucks, while you miss out on such investment. So I just want to chime that in. Moving on. So let's assume that your investment is not cash flowing like we have been citing before the glitch earlier. What else can you do? You need to pay attention to the occupancy. I always tell people about this, and everybody I've talked to always take it with levity hand. What do I mean by that? Is the biggest expense that every property owner have is vacancy. But we don't see it as an expense because it is not a money coming out of our pocket. It is not already earned income. But it is unearned income. It is an income that is out there that you would have taken advantage of, but you are not taking an advantage of it. So it is not earned yet, but it is the money that is out there that you should have earned. So that is what's one biggest expenses in my own opinion. How do you combat that? See, if you are competitive enough with your price at this time and age, we are such a shortage of house. If you want to know what I mean, go into property management and you're going to see how people are going to be blowing your phone off just to get into a property. So we have a very big shortage of house. And if you want to take advantage of that, be very, very competitive. When I have a client that walk up to me and I go to their house, they don't have washer and dryer. The number one thing I say is get washer and dryer, and you will be able to charge a minimum of $100 more. And I can bet you none of your neighbor does have this. All their tenants needs have to be going out to do their laundry. So that gives you like a super hedge on every renter in that neighborhood. So you need to make sure you combat occupancy vacancy. Sorry, you combat vacancy. Make sure you limit it to the bare minimum. And one thing is for you to know how to combat it. Another thing is for retention. So even though you get someone in right now, down the line, that person in 3 months, 6 months, are they going to stay? Very, very crucial in real estate and can quickly turn your profitable investment to money pits, to something you will be spending money on without realizing any money. So vacancy, sorry, I don't know why I'm missing those two. Vacancy and tenant retention is very, very big in turning your investment around. The number three thing I'm going to mention is find the loopholes in your operation cost and cut everything out. What do I mean by that? Where are you spending money that maybe you can do it yourself, or maybe you can just avoid spending that money monthly, weekly on? For example, we all know this is summertime in Indianapolis, Indiana, where we are located right now, and grass grow like fast right now at this time of the season. Even at my house, I know how much I'm spending on cutting grass every month because it's less. So I don't want to deal with that. So what do I mean is, can you do that yourself? Can you save money in that angle? If you can, do it and save that money so that your investment can be profitable. So that is one. Another one is, okay, take a proactive measure when it comes to maintenance so that you don't run into a situation where you are going to be having to repair stuff emergency, and that is going to be dipping into your pocket. What do I mean by that? So I went to one of the houses that we managed today, and I noticed that the pipe is rusted on the outside. And I'm like, okay, if it is rusted on the outside, where the water is not passing through every time, there is a higher chance that the probability so high that the pipe is rusted on the if gets bought, so a vendor to come and take a look at it, and we are working on that. That is proactive measure before now we are planning it before he plan it for us. You have to plan it before you actually plan it because it's going to break one day. And that day might not be a suitable day or a day that you actually want it to break. That is another thing that can actually cause uh, a good investment to go south really quickly. The last one I want to mention is upgrade your property. When you do that, it gives you opportunity to be able to charge more. So now we are talking about the investment is not really making money, it's not being profitable, but we need to look back at what are the opportunities that we can do. What are the little things that we can do in the house that will make most sense? A lot of time I always tell people lighting. When you put more light, more efficient light in the house, when you upgrade things that people interact with a lot, faucet in the house, people from the tap every now and then. So make it look fancy, feel like they are making a house and they are paying you change. Let them feel like they are cheating you actually. By doing that, you are giving them that feelings, that illusion that we give them the pleasure of paying you on time and every month. That we can turn your investments, or maybe you have a bad tenant before, now everybody is paying and everybody feel like, oh man, I'm living in a palace. And see, things like that we make them pay on time, and when they do, now your investment can actually be profitable. So Ibrahim, we are running up on time. I just want to those things that you've been holding on to, I don't want you to take it home tonight. We want to listen to
Yes, thank you, Ahmed. You have
from
tried. Give us.
experience, from your, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you now. Thank you, Ahmed. You have given us a lot of
Okay.
valuable.
From your point of view, go ahead.
I said thank you. You have given us a lot of valuable information on how you can turn your bad investment into a good one, and they are very sound advice. So, what I wanted to add to this is that you see, first of all, you knowing what is causing the problem, you've skipped about 50% of the entire problem. Okay, because without knowing what is causing the problem, then you don't know how you can even turn it around to be a good one, um, even though you are feeling the pain at that moment. So in some situation, a bad problem, it is not bad investment. It is not really a bad investment. It's just that the strategy that you are implementing is not working for that investment. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you bought a property in a class A, or like top class B, and very expensive location, very beautiful, investment, looking nice and all that. The appreciation is going to be there. However, you couldn't get any cash flow, just because, first of all, the taxes in that area is high. Second, you are doing normal lease in that area. What you're going to experience is that, first of all, it will be hard to find somebody to stay in that house. And Ahmed just emphasized on the fact that vacancy is the biggest loss that anyone can experience as a property as a landlord or an investor. So first of all, you're gonna experience a lot of vacancies just because you bought the house. Is it's expensive, and your rent, of course, nobody will expect you to charge less than what you are paying. as a mortgage, on your mortgage rather. So on that note, your rent will be expensive, and people will, you know, it's a normal human response. They will have that concept of like, why would I rent this property for this huge amount when I can actually buy my own property? Okay. So for that reason, you are gonna have hard time filling that property, hard time getting someone to lease that property. Now, because of that, you will be forced to rent for the exact amount or close to the exact amount that is in a fair condition. If it's so bad, you will have to lower your price even less than your mortgage, just because nobody will would like to stay there. Just because you are doing normal lease and the mortgage is about maybe 2,700, and you want to rent it out, then you have to do 2,700 or more. But many people will feel like they have to. Why don't they just go ahead and buy their own property as well and be paying that amount? So what do you do in that situation? Technically, you bought a good property because it's in a class A or B. It's going to appreciate after 2 to 5 or 6 years. Okay. The second is that the property is in good condition most of the time. When the expensive property like that, they're in good condition, is nice and all that. But the only problem is that the kind of strategy you are going for will not work in that situation, because that house, that property, that investment is in a class where the regular leasing, it's gonna be just way too expensive for people. People will look at it as, it's like a waste of money staying in this property, just because a lot of people can get their home property for that price range, the rent price. What you have to do is to turn that property into another level, change the game to another level. That way, people will see it as, first of all, not just a regular lease, not just a regular house. It's a more fancy kind of, because you are trying to give them some maybe full or partial luxury to the house. Okay. The fact that you are turning it around, it makes that person feels good that, okay, he or she is paying this huge amount. However, it is not a regular house. What do I mean by that? You might have to furnish the property. When you furnish your property, of course, it's going to cost you some bucks to furnish it. Yeah. However, if you furnish it right, good decoration, good heart, good, aesthetic, good amenities, good, different stuff that you have to, either research and put them together, or get a good property manager that can help you put them together. That way you can actually get cash flow, because your problem is not equity. You already have a good property in a good neighborhood, in a good condition. Now your problem is cash flow. So how do you get cash flow? You have to turn that property around into a luxury or partial luxury property where it's very attractive, and your condition will be different. What I mean by that, if you are doing normal lease, people stay there for 1 year or two, and they are expected to stay there for the entire 1 year. And if the lease is for 2 years, they are expected to stay there for the entire 2 years. However, now you have to be a little flexible, because people might have to come there and stay for 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, or 1 month. A matter of fact, you can make it where people come there for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. Okay. Your goal, you are trying to leverage on that investment, which is you making it luxury or partial luxury. And at that point, you are able to charge more for that same property. So what did you do here? All you did is you upgraded the property to another level. That way you can charge more. So you've in this scenario, you've solved the problem of equity. You bought it right. The second, the condition of property is good. The third, the cash flow issue, now you have solved it, because you have implement a strategy that is very effective in this kind of situation. Now, I may have talked about bad tenant and all that. So if it's another way around where your property is nice, you actually supposed to get cash flow. The problem is the tenant is not paying. That can make it a bad investment, even though everything else is good. So now you have to know how to deal with that problem, which is find a way to get the tenant out of your property, because there's no other way to that. If somebody's not paying or not taking care of your property, damaging everything, you have to get them out. If you don't have that guts, you don't have that mind, that energy, look for a property manager that can do that for you. They'll get that person out of your property, and you get someone. Of course, they will screen that person and make sure the new one is decent as much as possible. Ahmed already said that no one can read the other person's mind. However, there are some data, some analysis that can tell you, at least give you some idea of how an individual has been taking care of his or her finances or credit or history. How good have they been living? That
Yep.
alone will tell you give you some information about that person. Of course, you're not going to get you know some 100% information about anyone, because um even though you as much as you want to get it, it's also not something the government frown against that. Nobody wants there's always going to be privacy. So all you need, you get the legal and allowed data about a fellow or a guest or a tenant that is coming to your property. That way you can at least tell this person, based on what you have seen, this person is decent enough to be able to pay rent, decent enough because he or she is working, decent enough because this individual credit score is has been good, he or she has never uh, been to collection just because of he or she stopped paying rent. So all that will help you to screen out some of the bad, tenant that might turn your good investment into a bad investment. Okay. There are other stuff again that might do that, which is, for example, you bought this property, your goal is to make it look, how do I say it? Okay, you bought this property. I'm gonna go back to the first example. You bought this property in a good neighborhood, everything's looking good. Now, because of the high mortgage and everything, you couldn't get cash flow. If you choose not to upgrade the property, like the real property, you might do like ADU if it's allowed in that neighborhood. Do an ADU so that, and I'm assuming you have a bigger land. Do an ADU so you can get someone else into that the ADU. Now you are charging, you know, two tenants. In this scenario, we assume that the tenant are paying. So tenant is not the problem. The problem is your mortgage is high just because you bought a home in a high class neighborhood. And your equity is not a problem. You're getting high equity and everything appreciation. So the only thing is the cash flow. So you can get an ADU. Now the ADU, of course, is going to cost you money to set it up and all that. But when it's done, you will be making money from both sides, and that can help you feel like, yes, at least this investment is decent enough, because the money from the ADU, when you add it up with the primary one, the single family at the front, you making that will kind of subsidize or complement the primary residence. So what is my point? My point is that there's always a way. You have to first of all
Before
figure
you
out.
wrap up, we have a question, Ibrahim.
Okay, what is the question, please?
So the number one is you mentioned that you can switch it up, change the level of the game so you can make more money. So I'm going to ask two questions so you can answer both of them.
Sure.
So, and our audience is asking, can you do Airbnb? Is that a high revenue strategy? That's one of the first question. The second question is, what is ADU?
Okay. So ADU is an additional unit that you can create behind, at the behind or at the front or at the side of your property. Now with ADU, in most cases you have to have that extra space, extra land, and you have to get permit from the city, letting them know that you want to build additional unit at the back or at the side or at the front of the house, depending on the structure of your house, depending on the city, based on city approval, you can build an ADU. Um, quite honest, it isn't common in Indiana, but I've seen ADU here in Speedway, Indianapolis, the Crowelsville area. I've seen ADU. I've seen ADU in Washington Township. I've seen ADU in downtown. So it is possible. It is doable. So if you have that fund, the extra fund, instead of using that money in something else, you can do ADU. And by the way, you don't just do ADU. You do ADU where the investment is solid. What do I mean by that? You have a lot of cash flow. You have a lot of equity in that area. So if cash flow is not working, at least you see that equity growing very well, steadily, before you do ADU. You don't want to do ADU in the area that there's no equity, you barely get cash flow. No, you don't want to do that, because it's gonna just go down. Like after spending all your money, you make no money, or you make few money, and the neighborhood is going down. Because if you're not getting cash flow and you don't have enough equity, or you barely have equity in that area, it means that area is dying gradually. So you don't do ADU in such an area. So the second one is, can you do Airbnb? Oh, of course you can, but you just have to make sure the covenant in that neighborhood, if that house, if that neighborhood is governed or regulated by HOA, you have to make sure the HOA support or permit transient leasing. They call it transient leasing. If you look at the covenant, of course, you're not going to see Airbnb. The new ones now, like the new neighbors, sometimes they might say, uh, usually they say transient. They don't say Airbnb. Usually they will just say transient leasing, no transient leasing, or if there's gonna be a leasing restriction, they will say the tenant, the landlord, have to live in that property for a year before you can lease it out. Okay, and they might say the lease has to be 12 months or longer. No lease shorter than 12 months. It means they are regular. It means there's a leasing. They allow leasing in that area. However, it is regulated. But in some area, they don't care. The HOA lets you take care of your property and you can lease it out as much as you can, as long as the tenant is still following the rules. Because they, regardless of who is living in that house, everyone has to follow the rule of the HOA. So can you do Airbnb? Yeah, in a lot of areas you can. You just have to know the rules of the HOA, if it's allowed, and that can help you turn a bad investment into a good one. Is Airbnb the perfect strategy? Well, it depends on that area. It depends on how you set up the Airbnb. How good are you in decorations? How good are you in um, setting up amenities? Because amenities can be set up in different ways. Can be if you know how to, if you are handy, you are creative, you can set up amenities in a cheaper and more durable way. So um, and are you good in research? Are you figuring out what people are interested in? Because you don't want to set up something that people don't like. If majority of people do not like what you set up, it's gonna affect your bookings. So yes, Airbnb, you can do it, and that can help you improve that
So
business from.
sorry to cut you off, Ibrahim.
Sure,
I
sure.
want you to answer this one too. So that is why I'm putting it to you. He is asking, how do you get insurance contracts?
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So technically, you have to reach out to all the temporary housing agencies, because insurance company is like, they are the top dog. So they don't like to focus on a small investor or an investor that they don't trust, or they haven't get some kind of strong relationship or build some kind of strong relationship with them. So most likely they would rather give that contract to the big agencies, and those agencies, most of them are like corporate. They do like corporate leasing, temporary housing, and the big ones, like Ali Solution, Shedwick, Express Link, which one, CRS, temporary housing. So all those people, you have to register with them, and when you register with them, you let them know, the information of your property, the amenities you provide, your lease term, your, condition um, vacation notice, and all that stuff, your rent, your cleaning policy, and all that. Um, Actually, I received some questionnaires from Express Link, I think 2 days ago, and so they have submitted that to the adjuster. They're gonna reach back to me. So, in excuse me. So those people, they are the one that will submit your information, or your property condition and your rate and policy to the insurance company, and particularly to the adjuster. And if the adjuster accept and agree with all your condition and terms and your rate, he or she will approve it. Now it doesn't stop. Like, because he approved it doesn't mean that you're gonna get a deal. The next step is you have to pray, or hope that the tenant, the actual tenant, loves your property. How do you do that, or what are the things you can do? You definitely have to make it look attractive, because look at it this way: it's like somebody, I'm not gonna say you, somebody has an accident, a car accident, and now they call their insurance. Hey, I got somebody eat my car. Da, 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 da. Okay, the insurance will tell that person, okay, go and get an estimate. Some, at least some of them. I'm sure not all of them, do that. But some will tell, go get an estimate and let us know the repair and everything. Most cases, people go to expensive bodybuilder shop, because the money is going to be funded, or the repair cost is going to be funded by the insurance company. So you go to the expensive one. It's the same mentality with people that have fire issue, water damage, and everything, because they want to go to the top properties in that neighborhood or in that area. So what does that mean? It means the implication is that you have to make sure your property is looking nice, because when they come in and they don't like it, regardless, even though the adjuster approved it, they won't take it. They'll have to go for another one. So now you've missed it just because you did not spend the extra, maybe $2,000. Or you missed it because you didn't call Azio Property to guide you on how you can actually get that deal. So what am I saying? I'm saying, if you don't know how to make it work, you work with people that can guide you and make it work. So reach out, because this episode, it's really about a good management. I'll be honest with you guys. It's really about management, because you've already have the business. Now you want to turn into a good one. If you don't have the idea, all you have to do, reach out to people that have already known, like they've learned and they know how to turn it around. They have different concepts, different strategies. All you have to do, seek their knowledge, talk to them. They will tell you how you can make it work, how you can make your property from that low income or bad energy tenant. They can change it to a good tenant for you. So seek out, call is your property. He's gonna guide you and tell you what to do and how you can, leverage your investment as much as possible, and to get it to an effective and cash flowing, and um, turning around to a good investment. So is there any other question I need to answer, or?
Yeah, I think you hit them all. One quick thing before I add to what you've said is, guys, this is like what people go and pay money for in
Mhm.
masterminds. This is what people join mentorship for. And this is information that nobody is speaking about. Everybody is telling you to come and invest with them, give them all your life savings to invest for you for a few returns. We are not asking all that. All we are asking from you guys is to subscribe to our channel, share with your friend, give a constructive feedback so that we can grow together, so that we can all, be financially free. If you are watching this, you have option. You can go and watch political debates. You can choose to go and watch sports. It's weekend, right?
Yeah.
But you are here because you are very particular about your financial freedom. Don't be selfish. Please share this content with other people so that they can be on the same journey as you. Because one rich man between nine poor paupers, you are still a pauper. So let's all grow together, share, and make sure you subscribe. All right, that's to the side. That said, now I want to add that I know Ibrahim already covered all the ground about the insurance. One thing I want to add is this recently happens to me, right? You can actually get insurance contracts with a empty house as well. It is
Oh yeah,
possible.
it's
it
possible.
is it is possible. So if they really need their house in that particular neighborhood, they will. But keep in mind what Ibrahim said is the key, is the final key. If the tenants, if the people that want to come and stay there doesn't like it, even if you furnish it, nothing will happen. Even if the insurance company feels that is the safest place for them to stay, nothing will happen. They have to agree to stay there. So they have the final decision. So I experienced a situation. Ibrahim have talked to me about this a lot as well, because he is in the business too. People will come, check the house, and they will say, "Oh, you don't have any room downstairs. You don't have this. You don't," and they're gonna walk away, and that is it, right? So you need to make sure when you are buying for that particular strategy, you are covering all grants. Make sure you have at least one room downstairs. Make sure everything is well and properly arranged. Make sure you communicate effectively with the tenants. Make sure you are asking them, is there anything else you guys want me to explain? Is there anything I didn't cover? Pretty much when I go to insurance walkthrough, I let them do their thing. And what I'm always asking is there anything you need me? Is there anything you want me to explain? Is there anything that is not clear? Because they make the decision. There's nothing you can do. So I don't want to hit too much on that, but what Ibrahim said is key. Even if everybody in the transaction thinks this is perfect for them, if those people don't want it, they don't want it. Game off. So that is what I want to add, Ibrahim. I don't know if you have any other thing to.
Yes, quickly, I just want to add to what you mentioned. So yeah, they can get your property unfurnished. Most of the time, it's so when there's a incident, a devastating damage or fire issue, in the property, the insurance company sent out. Usually, they send out a repair contractor, if they have to send out an architect or anything that they know it's valuable in reconstructing or rebuilding that property. And those people will give that insurance company an estimate. So if the estimate is saying 6 to 1 year, 6 months to 1 year, or even longer, now the insurance company can take unfurnished property because they don't want to spend money on renting, because they rent all those stuff. They will rent the furniture, rent the utensils, rent everything that tenant will be using temporarily, or I should say the guest. But I like to so it depends on who they are. If they are like an employee coming from a company, just because they have to work for few months or something, you can call them guests. But anyway, whichever you want to call them, the contract, I mean, the insurance company will make sure that they are going to stay there for a while. That way, the amount they pay for the rental furnitures and all that, it makes sense with the coverage of the rent and everything. When they sum everything together, and they will see if it makes sense or not. If it doesn't make sense, let's say they are coming for 4 months, 3 months, they will rather go for a furnished property, because of course, the renter will charge them for delivery, they will charge them for the usage and all that, and there's also a liability of damages and all that. Now, instead of facing two different liabilities, which is the rental liability, in case there's a damage, and also face the property liability, they would rather face one in the same, already furnished property. Um, so it's all about numbers, quite honest. The insurance companies, they try to save money just like anyone else. So if your property is making sense to them, when after doing all their math, that's why they use an adjuster. The adjuster job is to see and make sure your rent is not overpriced, not outrageous. But the tricky thing about it is that you'll be surprised what you can get with insurance company, because they are not, they are looking at it in a real world, in a real, like, not, they compare with what it's gonna be in the hotel, what it's gonna be in a special resort, if they have to get those people in those places. So my point is, you can get a huge cash flow, a huge return if you implement temporary housing strategy. Anyway, if you have more questions about that, reach out to Agio Property and they will guide you on how you can do that. This episode is dedicated for how to manage your property, so nobody will better explain it to you than a property manager. Okay, so give them a call. Ahmed, how can they reach out to you? Of course, this is an interesting episode, and a lot of people would like to know how they can cash flow and get more on their property. So, how can they reach out to you, please?
Yeah, you can reach me on all social media. I'm LOL. You can reach me on Instagram, ACO PM. And also, if you want to, make a deal or talk about real estate, talk about managing your property for you, you can call me on 765-240 7932. That is my business line. And yeah, we can chat about everything. And buying right is one of the things that we discuss, Ibrahim. If people want to buy a house, they want to sell, how can people reach you?
Yeah, great. They can call me 317-728-0213. That is my direct line. I'll be the one picking the phone and we'll talk about it. Anything concerning real estate. If you want to go to my website, go to ibrealtors.us. It is very comprehensive. You'll get to see everything about houses here in Indiana, not just Indianapolis, Indiana in total. So you can see any property you would like to invest. You can search and pick all the options, and you know share that with me, and we can physically inspect the house, and we'll go from there. So yeah, you can just text me as well on DM ibrealtor.us, on Instagram, on TikTok. So that'll be it for tonight. Man, do you have anything to say before we?
Nothing else. I just want to thank our audience. Thank you so much. You guys
Thank you,
are the
thank you.
driving force, the motivation behind all this, and we promise not to disappoint. We promise to, to always be here and giving all this undiluted, unfiltered information. Go ahead, Ibrahim.
And by the way, a change is coming. We are trying to improve the podcast. We realize the network sometime, the StreamYard, the company we are using, sometimes there's glitch here and there, or if there's a storm, if there's, any issue with the internet, it's kind of messing it up. So we are trying to, get it better and more clearer and more loud and sound improved video. So watch out for that. We are working on that, and we believe life the life that we are doing currently is part of the issue. So we are trying to see a better alternative offline, where I mean off is it offline, I should say off life, like non-life alternative that is going to better replace the life. However, we are still open to, messages, DMs, and all that, so we can better serve you. Um, Again, the show is over tonight, and we will see you guys next week.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Bye.